Only if you're feeling it.
Yeah. Well, I'll just wait for that
This
to start.
meeting is being live streamed.
Yay. I'll just make sure that that's gone
I
live.
fucking hate my glasses on this because you can see everything I can see in my glasses. Like, look, you can see everything.
You can't get away with Googling stuff because people can zoom in and see it.
Luckily, if I look this way, like look that way, I don't think you can see it as well.
No.
So I'm fine. I can Google on this.
See you
screen.
watching naughty movies and stuff.
Naughty movies.
Naughty movies. Oh, so a friend of mine who I'm going to say this on the live stream, so I'm going to be very careful what I say. So,
Oh yeah, we're on the.
Should I say it now or should I save it for the show?
Save it for the show.
Okay, I'll save it for the show. Although it might not be appropriate for the show, but sod it.
We'll see how it is.
Okay, right. Live stream is up. Okay, let's go.
Press record.
I just pressed record. It didn't work. Let's try again.
Press record.
There we
There
go.
we go.
No, I haven't done it yet.
I'm giving up asking.
Good. I selfie because I hate looking at myself. That's better.
Is that clock going slowly? It is. It's gone.
There's such a delay between the live stream.
Oh God!
Yeah, there's a bit.
Michael Schumacher
A
hits
bit.
David Coulthard and is out. George Russell.
Massive delay.
We can talk about the cost cap stuff as well.
Oh yeah, we should do that.
Big one.
Jesus.
They definitely didn't cheat. Red Bull definitely didn't cheat. Last year.
Did the FIA cheat? Are we? Where are we at? Where are we at with this?
But Max is definitely champion. No, in
Somehow.
fairness, he fully deserves it. But my God, what a absolute clusterfuck!
Is it? Yeah, I mean, typical FIA F1. You know, we're Netflixing. It felt like a Netflix day.
I actually now I'm starting to think that Formula One are actively kind of pushing the FIA to make mistakes so that they can have an excuse to try and part ways with them and govern themselves because they don't want to be part. They don't want the FIA to govern them, but they have no choice because they have like a 100-year lease on it or something. So yeah. Hi everyone.
That was a thing. 100-year lease.
Yeah, something like that. They have the rights for 100 years. It was a Bernie Ecclestone dodgy deal.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the terms were, but it's long. So we're not the FIA aren't going anywhere. So, and besides, I'm not sure. I don't like the FIA, but I'm not entirely sure F1 governing themselves is a way forward. I'd rather it was an independent sporting body. Not the FIA.
It's like any sport. Is there any sport that's independently? I don't think there is.
Yeah, well, you got obviously got things like that are managed by the Court of Arbitration for Sport, if there's any things. But obviously, Formula One can't go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Motorsport can't because the FIA are the independent body that looks after it.
Yeah, but it's like athletics.
I guess you have like the FA, you have like the FA and FIFA and UEFA and all that kind of stuff. So,
I'm trying to think of anything that's not independently.
To be honest, it's all politics, and I hate it. So, yeah, that's it. How's your week?
Good. We just started filming today. First day of shoots.
Yeah?
Yeah. I won't go too much into it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Mostly because I'll start swearing about certain crew members and, we'll be beeping them out for the next 3 weeks.
As long as you don't start swearing about somebody who gets convicted of something or not convicted about something.
How has he got away with that?
I don't know. I didn't even know that he got away with it, to be honest. But okay.
I presume he's got away with it because we never heard anything else.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so I was over a friend's house earlier who's recently bought a new place. I'm not going to name who they are, but you know them and you lived with them for a short time.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so they've recently got a new place.
I heard he's got a new place.
Yeah.
That one.
So I went over there and it's literally, he's got a chair and a table.
Sounds about right.
And he doesn't have a bed. He's lived there 3 weeks. He doesn't even have a mattress. He's obviously not sleeping there. He's probably still sleeping somewhere else.
The other place, yeah.
Yeah, but it's, he was saying about like I said, so he's moved back in with his parents, which he has done for a while, and which
he was saving up for the deposit. Yeah.
So he's bought the house and he's moved in, and it's all great, and then. He said, well, he can't wait to get out of his parents' house and get his own Wi-Fi because his parents have got like parental controls on the Wi-Fi and he can't get porn.
Oh dear. Yeah, that sounds like that same person. Oh my god.
He's had to put up with 3G porn for the last God knows how long.
And you've been doing a show, haven't you?
I have. I am no longer Mr. Pressman, so I can grow my beard back now.
Nice.
So that's good.
Oh, we got a dog this week as well.
You said that on the last show. I thought.
No, we got her on Tuesday. So.
Oh, I thought you already had.
Oh, actually, we might have got her, but I hadn't seen her because when did we podcast? We must podcast Tuesday, Wednesday last week.
It was Monday. It was Monday.
Was it Monday?
I think it was Monday last week.
Then I hadn't got. Then Laura's going to pick her up on Tuesday.
You definitely sent me a picture, and we mentioned it on a pod last week. Yes. But maybe you hadn't actually.
No, so we've actually got Jenna now, our little autistic assistance dog. So, she's so cute and dopey. I mean, she's you met Jack, our old dog.
Yeah.
She's the same size at 8 weeks old.
Oh, okay. So she's going to be a bit bigger.
She's going to be huge. Jack was a Cavapoo, but yeah, this thing looks like Jack did for all his life. So it's the same size. So yeah, it'd be interesting.
Speaking of new animals, I don't know if you
fish.
I haven't got anything, but can you see that?
So your parents? Yeah. Cats.
They just got a new Maine Coon.
Oh, of course they have.
And
I love their Maine Coons.
That's bingo.
Are they the ones with the crazy meow?
They've got a fairly bad meow, a big meow, and then they've also got
they're massive as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they've got a Bengal tiger as well.
Oh, that's
who does.
Yeah.
Is that?
It sounds like a Formula 1 car going past.
Yeah, literally, yeah. But yeah. So speaking of Formula 1, then, do you want to talk on the budget cap stuff first, or do you want to go into the race?
Oh, let's do. Right, yeah, I suppose it's because it's breaking news. Although, weirdly, it's breaking news that we have no news type thing. It's one of those.
It's almost like the Schumacher updates.
It is exactly like the Schumacher updates because there is no real news apart from they've been naughty. So what was it that? So reading the lines was the Formula 1, Red Bull were at an undisclosed figure above the budget cap. Which they are putting down to catering and sickness. I don't quite know how that works. One presumes the sickness is the fact that they had to hire someone else in. I don't know. I haven't quite worked out how that one works yet.
But over £1 million in that, because they're saying it's over
£1 million of sickness and food.
But catering doesn't come under the cost cap. So I've noticed that cost cap and scandal is trending at the moment on Twitter.
Of course. And then the penalty, whatever the penalty is, hasn't been named, which is the FIA trying to work out what the fuck they're going to do because they can't really do points because they've just announced the world champion, which we'll come to later. So it's like if they then put the point deduction on them, that means he's not F1 champion. And we basically relive it all over again in SOTA. I don't know. It just feels a bit strange. And especially as the points thing was a bit weird anyway. No one could work out what the fuck they were on about. So it's a bit of a strange one. I don't quite understand it. I don't think anyone understands it. I think it's typically the same thing that always happens when new rules come out by the FIA and F1 is we'll make it up as we go along because we're not really sure how we're going to manage this.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to make any sense because
I think they've screwed themselves over and they like Max. I think had Max not won, they would have put penalty points on it and that would have been just it. Had Max not won the championship. Sorry, spoiler alert if anyone's not.
Yeah, well, he'd already won it, just not mathematically.
Yeah,
before the weekend,
not mathematically. Anyway. So it would have just pushed it to SOTA, but it all just seems a bit weird. I don't quite understand in what world they're in. Also, I'm really confused. I've just looked at YouTube. We've somehow got 3 likes, but only 2 people are watching, which I presume is me and you.
Quite possibly, yeah.
So who's liking it?
Nobody.
Or are you on 2 accounts? Is that what's
No,
happening?
I'm not on 2 accounts.
But like,
I don't know.
spooky shit.
Either way, it's fine. Laura not joining us on the chat? Or
I don't know where she is. She normally does. I had to tell her we're live. But she might be putting the kids away. Putting the kids away. It sounds like the dog. She might be
stick him in the cupboard.
Yeah, she might be. Putting the kids to bed.
I don't know what's going to happen with that, but they haven't announced any penalties yet, and I just don't understand why it took so long, given they were supposed to announce it, and then they said, oh, they're going to announce it Monday. So I'm guessing, I reckon they were a lot more over the budget cap than they.
Oh yeah, and now they had to do some creative figuring.
Yeah, but now they've
and also
taken it to
the
Red Bull
and also the Aston Martin clerical error. I think they probably needed to justify their clerical error.
Yeah, so I reckon they probably managed.
We're building a fucking massive factory.
Yeah, I reckon they've managed to justify away a lot of their expenditure in other ways.
Yeah.
And
they've reduced it.
Yeah.
To a point where
Horner was very adamant that Red Bull were well under the budget cap, and now to say it's over, it's just like that just kind of makes your accounting team look a little bit rubbish.
Yeah, but like, I don't know who's going to be like. It's a strange one because everyone, in theory, Red Bull, as the parent company or whatever the parent company of Red Bull is, should be looking at Red Bull Racing, going, lads, like, what the fuck, like you're £1 million over budget here. You've obviously
that's a lot as well. I mean, that's in the grand scheme of things. Like when you're talking about R&D of a vehicle, it's not a lot. When you've got £145 million budget, it's not a lot. But when you think about, like, if you boil it down to what does that £1 million actually pay for, like, and I know I don't want to just go into specifics, but I know that Toto Wolff was saying like if they'd have put a new floor and it would have been £300,000, they would have gained.
Well, this is so okay. So I want how many points or grid penalty is it for a new engine? It's back of grid, isn't it, for a new engine?
Yeah. No, sorry. Internal combustion engine, just the ICE element is 10 place for initial and 5 for any additional.
Okay, and what's back of grid full?
Well, like a full engine change, yeah.
Okay, and how much is an engine?
I think the entire powertrain is it's about £2 million.
Okay, so a new engine just on its own is 10 places. Oh, hello, Laura. She's on the chat there.
We were just mentioning you, Laura. Nice to see you.
So yeah, like a two. So it all £1 million is a 10 place grid penalty. Let's be honest. If an engine, the full set and everything, kit and caboodle is 2 million. So that's all it should be. In my mind, is a 10 place grid penalty on the next.
I don't think
race,
that's enough, though, because
why is it not enough when an engine is 2 million? If they've only got $1 million over,
because
I say only $1 million,
you're still gaining the benefit of that, and it's difficult to quantify.
Okay,
but one thing I want to say absolutely for certain is I do not think there should be any like changes to the 2021.
Sorry, I'm married to Laura Higgins on chat. Okay. I don't know she's broken her toe.
I've broken my toes. Apologies, I'm late.
What? I know nothing about that. I literally know nothing about that. Like, what? Oh, Rubes is on. Hello, Rubes. Sorry, she just sent a picture. There we go. Yeah, I don't. Sorry. Anyway, I don't get the budget. Okay, so is it back of grid for both cars?
I don't think there should be any penalty in relation to last season. I think that's gone. I think it's too.
Well,
the optics are too
what
bad.
Is the penalty then?
For me, I think if it's
like,
it depends on how much.
They should have decided this, surely.
I think they're now. I think they're at the point now where they've realised. They've done all the accounting. They've moved all the stuff around, and they're still over. So they've now said, okay, so we know you're definitely over. We've got to announce it. We're now going to go away and decide a punishment. I think for me, what would be fair would be a points deduction this season and an aero reduction for next season.
I think it just should be a financial deduction. No, I think it should be whatever you overspent last season, you should take it off next season.
Well, no, because then what you'll do is you'll just get people overspending to get an advantage one year to then take the pain the next year.
Well,
and it's so important going into this regulation set because of all the changes. If you overdevelop, that's a baked-in advantage you will hold for 3 or 4 years, and you can get huge advantages by overspending last season. And
but
so
the irony being, if they fine them, that's just more money they're spending. Which then, reality, where does that money come from? Next year's, this year's.
So yeah, I mean, I think
I don't get that because then
certainly a reduction in the budget for the next season for the amount they overspend, yes, but there also does need to be something fairly draconian along with that as well. It needs to be something fairly severe to stop people thinking, well, they'll just start running the books and say, well, if we're just going to get a reduction in budget for next year, then let's just move some money around. We'll go over this year, but we'll just claw that back next year. And I don't think they should be able to do that. That's not right.
I think there should be.
There should certainly be a percentage reduction in wind tunnel testing.
Yeah.
Absolute minimum. And there should also be, for me, the financial penalty coming out of the next budget, and also something else along with that, whether that be a points deduction for the following season, a points deduction for
you start off with a points
season.
The problem is that to do that, then you're always working 2 years ahead of yourself because, this is last year's accounts. This isn't this year's account. This is last year's accounts.
Yeah.
So, which will affect next year's accounts. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of,
So that then gives them the chance to then actually go back not go back. That gives them the chance to plan ahead. And they can't then say, you've just reduced our budget for this year, but we've only got 4 races left. Yeah. We're now, we're going to go over again this year now.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they'd go.
That.
I think they'd have to put it onto 2023's.
The only thing you could do is points deduction this year because it's not the end of the season. So you could do points deduction this year, error reduction, and budget reduction next year. That would be for me.
I don't think they should do anything this year because it's not. It doesn't make any sense to do it this year. I know this was last year's accounts, but I don't think it's fair to screw up this year, and it's not.
It does say,
and it's also. Let's be honest. A points reduction is not going to gain anything in this race. It's a bit weird. The World Championship's been announced.
Yeah, but you can't base a penalty. I say the same thing in the races. You cannot base a penalty on what the result would be. You can't say, well, he's 20 seconds ahead in the race, so I'm going to give a 25-second penalty so that he doesn't win the race. You can't do it. And the same way, like with Perez in Singapore, you can't give him a 5-second penalty.
I mean, and that's the other one is that they have to take because the thing is like the problem being if you say next year, okay, you have to take the first 5 races to back of the grid. If that was Red Bull, it would affect them a lot. But if it was Haas or Williams, it doesn't affect them at all.
I think it should.
So it's got to be something that can be scaled from top to bottom. You can't just, or if you take points away, if Williams did this or Haas, not that they can, but if they did, does that mean
minus points?
They finish with minus points, but that's not going to gain anything. That's the problem. It's all very well being points. The thing is, this has to be a broad thing across the whole thing and not just aimed at the top 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where the issue is. So I don't think points
works. Is difficult. I think percentages of budget and percentage of aero time is a good way to do it because then that actually.
I think the aero time is a good one because
that is an equated penalty per team because every team who gets that will suffer from it.
It's either a loss of practice day, but I don't think that really affects anyone.
No, I don't.
But I think your aero thing is probably it. That's the only thing you can quantifiably
and
budget. I don't think you can do budget either, because as I said, if you were to do budget, say it quantifiably, you're playing the system. Then how do you're saying?
Well, at the very minimum,
take 1.2 million off.
Well, yeah, at the very minimum, you have to take off the amount that was overspent, and then you also need a penalty for overspending. So the penalty for me, the overspending would be the reduction in
it's got to be
time.
Really severe to make it work. But then this is a minor breach.
Yeah.
Fuck does that mean? A major breach is 5%, isn't it? Over 5%.
Yeah, which is 7 million.
Which is 7 million. Like, I get that, but if the aero time and your budget was cut by, you know, what's stopping, again, as you said, Aston Martin, who has money, or someone else, even McLaren. No, they don't have that much money, but you know what I mean is that if one of the teams that do have money overspending in 2023 for 2023 and taking the hit in 2025 once they've won a world championship, you know, if that works, which almost means that they, you know, and then taking the 7 million off, it doesn't make, you know, there would be no difference between the minor and the major. I think what you've got to do is the minor has to be, okay, you keep your cap for next year, but you have less aero time, and then, or wind tunnel time, and then the major is, okay, we take all your money and you get a fucking aero time taken.
Do you know what? We wouldn't even need to be talking about this had the rules just been followed last year.
Well, we wouldn't have to be hang on. No, we wouldn't have to be talking about this had the rules been made last year. We don't have the rules. We don't have
what I'm saying is, had the rules in the last race of last year been followed, it wouldn't matter, because Red Bull wouldn't have won the Drivers' Championship anyway, so there wouldn't have needed to be a conversation about it.
Yeah.
But hey ho, that's where we are. You know, we can't go back on that.
Okay. So Ruby's saying, I don't think there should be a retrospective penalties like for minor breach, but I do think it can't be a fine or whatever. So what do you suggest, Rubes? And Laura's saying points. So I think we've specified that points do not work.
Well, you have. I'm not convinced on that.
How do points work? As I said, you'll end up if this was any other team,
unless it's a percentage. You know, of points.
Deloitte have the money to do.
I mean, what you could say is
to pump into Williams. So there is that chance that they could literally pump millions into Williams.
So what you could say is, but if you're having a reduction in the budget cap for the following year, and you also have a reduction in aero time, but then you say if they're 5% over, if you then say 5% of your points are removed, you could maybe say that. So that way it's an equated. So penalty.
Every race you do 5%. Yeah, your percentage is.
The total of points you scored in that season.
Yeah.
Say if it's 4% over, say Red Bull were 4% over,
so you get 4%.
They would probably lose
your whole points,
but they would probably only lose like 7 or 8 points on that. Williams would lose like 0.2 of a point. So maybe that's not going to work. Yeah,
and that's the problem. You're looking at these,
or it's a percentage. You could maybe say 20% of your points.
You know what's annoying? It's Red Bull. If it wasn't Red Bull, if it was Aston or Williams, I think the rules would have to be very different. The rule would come in and it would be very different. But that's my problem, is it has to be something that can cross the board. If Andretti comes in and suddenly starts spunking money on some team or whatever, whatever the rules are, that this is a firm thing for the next, 10 years with it.
Yeah.
So literally, I have no idea as to what's best to do on this one. And I don't think there is any. I don't think there's an answer, and there's no answer we can give because we've gone through.
Let's wait and see what the FIA say. When
the FIA would do fuck all. It would be hilarious.
Yeah.
It would be like 3-point deduction. Great, there we fucked up the championship. No, that won't work. So what would they? I think it will be next year, and it'll be a points reduction next year. That's my bet, which makes it completely pointless, literally.
Do you know what I say to that?
What?
Oh, it didn't work.
No, that didn't work. Let's try again.
What the fuck?
I meant to put that on my soundboard, but I completely forgot last week.
Smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck?
I love it. It's great. It's great. That's going to stay on
right.
the
Anyway,
should we talk about the Japanese Grand Prix? We haven't actually done that yet. So we'll start off at the back then. We'll start with Alexander Albon, and I'm going to start with that one then. So Alex Albon pulled off the track, bit of a mystery retirement, really. He didn't hit anything that we saw. There was some talk maybe there might be some debris, or it might have just been water in the steering wheel. Pulled off technically the first retirement. So we didn't see it at the time. I'm sure Sainz crashed first, but Albon was classified last for some reason. But that's. I
don't know. Was he caught up in that damage? Because
I don't think so.
He pulls over right next door to Sainz. It was a bit strange.
I guess he was probably like a meter closer to the start line than Sainz. So
Sorry.
But you have Sainz.
I mean, Crash Bandicoot there,
Mhm.
really. I think it was just a bit of a silly accident, wasn't it? Like,
It's aquaplaning. I
yeah,
think
it's aquaplaning.
you could blame his
It was
decision.
just like what that they all went on to Inters at the
Yeah,
beginning.
you could. Well, you could blame the fact that they all started on the wrong tire.
Yeah.
It was too dangerous for that tire. If they'd all started on wets,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have had any
But
problems.
then I think we'll come back to that. Let's talk about tires. Tires is on the list. There we go. I've added tires to the list. Go on.
So Pierre Gasly, I had a bit of an opinion about Pierre Gasly's indiscretion in the race, which I'm kind of a little bit reversed on now that I have a bit more facts backing it up. His race was basically, we'll talk more about it later. His race
Gasly,
was basically...
full stop. Let's talk about Gasly full stop, because,
basically,
that tractor and the board of doom that hit his front.
Yeah. So we'll talk more in detail about it afterwards, but his race was defined by hitting an advertising hoarding, getting a new front wing, fitting wet tyres, coming round, almost hitting a recovery truck, and then being
running over a Marshall.
He didn't run over a Marshall, did he?
Nearly missed it, running over a Marshall.
So that kind of defines his race, and he was a very, very angry man about it. But classified 18th due to a 20-second retrospective time penalty.
Mickey Schumacher. I mean, he was on the wet tire. He stayed out on those wet tires far too long. Mm-hmm. I get the gamble. I actually get Haas's gamble on that. I could see where they were going. But then if everyone's going to Inters, I think they just thought, oh, they're going to Inters again, and we're going to be slip sliding everywhere. So I completely understand that. But it obviously didn't play off, and he slowly trickled back. And I think as soon as they saw that trickling back, they should have just gone with it and changed him. But they changed him far too late.
Yeah, I mean, if they actually change him when they should have changed him, then it's fine. But I mean, he did get the honour of leading the race for 30 metres. I'm not sure if he crossed the line in the lead. I need to check that to see if he's classified as leading a lap. But it was somewhere around the start-finish line. He was leading for about 30 metres until Verstappen drove past him.
Nice.
Yeah, so technically he led a race.
I mean, that makes a change for him being lapped by Verstappen. So
This is true. Zhou Guanyu next got his first Formula One fastest lap.
Fair play on him. Fair fucks on that one. Didn't classify, but fair fucks on that
because
one.
he finished 16th, so it didn't actually matter.
Yeah.
Another bad weekend for Alfa Romeo in general, just no real pace. And the only pace he had was when they switched to the Inters for the first people on it, and then he was putting in some incredible lap times then, because I think the conditions were perfect for brand new Inters at that point. Then the rain got a bit heavier and times fell away, and people weren't making quite as much time on the Inters as he was straight away. 16th. So another meh for him.
Here's another meh, Bottas. Yeah. I think he was. Did he go really early off the wets?
Excuse me.
On the Inters, and actually was doing quite well, but then fucked up his tyres on those Inters because they stayed on too long.
Maybe he's another one that's kind of completely gone past me. I can't remember what he did.
Yeah, well, he didn't go that fast. Yeah, but there we go. K-Mag.
Got the favoured strategy for Haas. He actually did stop for Inters at the right time, but it only got him up to 14th. Amazing a race that, was so much kind of difficult conditions for the entire race. Yeah. I say the entire race is only 40 minutes long, but even so...
3 hours, according to 3 hours and... 1 minute
from the lights going out to the checker flag being waved was 3 hours 1 minute and 44 seconds.
Yeah,
but that's not how long the race was. The race was only about 40 minutes long.
Officially, it was anyway.
Yeah, it just only 2 retirements from that is pretty impressive.
In a wet race,
Yeah.
Difficult track. Sonoda.
First Japanese Grand Prix.
First Japanese Grand Prix. Gutted. I mean, he looked grumpy about it the whole day. He didn't seem to be enjoying it. I think he had so much pressure on him being the Jap there. I feel like the pressure got to him almost, and he became rather sweary, especially in qualifying.
But he's a pretty sweary guy.
Yeah,
just in general.
Stroll.
Who's next? Stroll. Stroll. What a great start. Gotta props to him.
I don't know where he found that at all.
I mean, yeah. So you look at the first lap, and he's gone bombing it down the down the outside. There's one little bit of tarmac. There's a different colour to the rest of it. He's obviously driven around in practice when it was raining, seen that it's much grippier, and he's taken that into the race, and it's just like it was great. That was like the move of the day. That was awesome, and at that point, Vettel was at the back facing the wrong way, and yet Vettel still finished way ahead of him. So, well done. You did a good start. So.
And then nothing else happened.
Yeah, pretty much.
If anyone could tell me what happened to Danny Rick, that'd be great. Because
I don't remember anything about his race, but I didn't see him on telly at all.
Was he in the race? I presume he was. But
he was ahead of Lando at the start. I think he got a decent start, and Lando got a bad start. And so he was ahead at one point, but how he got behind him again, I'm guessing something with the pit stops. Lando probably got preferential treatment on the pit stops.
Norris.
Okay, Lando probably got preferential treatment on the pit stops. He got stuck up behind Nicholas Latifi, couldn't get past him. I guess probably McLaren having similar issues to the Mercedes, just too much drag and not enough straight line speed.
Yeah.
Not a great weekend for them. They've fallen back behind Alpine in the Constructors' Championship again after a great result last time out. So 4 races to go. It's just.
I mean, they're 4th now, aren't they?
They're 5th.
Fifth, sorry.
Yeah,
5th now.
and that's no one's going.
They've got to resign that off now.
Yeah, 6th. Alpha are falling. Not Alpha, sorry. Who's 6th in the Constructors? I can't remember now. Or 5th rather. 5th is 5th McLaren. 6th Alfa Romeo. Yeah. They're falling back towards Aston. There's more chance of Aston passing Alfa Romeo than there is of Alfa Romeo passing McLaren. A lot more. So
I think they're pretty, and I think Alpine are slightly running away with it, which we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
Latifi. Why am I saying Latifi's now?
I know.
Like, that's not normal. I mean, I think his lovely pit crew has a lot to do with that.
It was a great call.
Yeah, and I think they had a lot to do with that. Although he did come out at the same time as Vettel, who's
a lot higher.
He's sick. It's amazing, isn't it? How 2 people, and we'll talk about this in a bit actually, how 2 people can come out of a pit side by side, and in some places it's fine and not a bad release, and in other places it's not. I think that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that later. Yeah, we will talk about that. Let me just make a note of that.
Oh, look, it's the cock.
Oh, good. I'm glad I got it. So the listeners.
I mean, he just gets a dick of the day for his ego. I'm sorry. For fuck's sake! Oh, that was a great pass. Yeah, all right.
I'm supposed to be talking about fucking Russell. 8th. I'm supposed to be talking about Russell.
Anyway, I couldn't resist.
Okay, so Russell, bit of a dick. No, I mean, he was whinging. I mean, Hamilton always whinges at the team decisions anyway, but he had a bit of a whinge about the pit strategy and saying it's the worst mistake I've ever made. It's like, have you not seen Mercedes pit stops this year? So it wasn't a bad mistake. He was the right decision to come in.
You've ever made, not we've ever made. You've ever made.
The Inters were a hell of a lot quicker. He was insistent it was just because they're not in the spray. My response to that would have been, okay, stay out on wets then. You saw what happened to Schumacher. Russell would have been up there in second place or possibly in the lead, and would have fallen back like a stone and then pitted for Inters and be like, oh, well, that didn't work, did it? And then we wouldn't have been treated to that overtake on, was it Tsunoda?
No, it was Latifi, wasn't it?
Was it Latifi? Maybe it was.
I think it was Latifi. I think that was the irony. It was Latifi.
Yeah. That was good. So, well, you're happy with that now. Obviously, much slower cars.
Or was it Norris? Was it Norris?
He did overtake. I don't think it was Norris on that one, but he did do a pass on Norris. Yeah. I think it was. I think it was Tsunoda. But either way, he was back in like 13.
Well, if no one else likes you, pat yourself on the back.
He was back in 14th, and he fought his way back up to.
How did we all like him once upon a time?
I don't mind him.
Do you know what? I started this off as a joke of hating Russell. I generally started it off as a joke. It's just come true. I think that's I'm sort of now stuck on it because it's real. When you say something and you're sort of just joking about it. I generally, on my life, was just moaning about how bad Russell was because everyone was arse licking, and I was just being that cock. Beep beep. There. Sorry, live. Sorry, live stream. Was it Tsunoda?
Yeah, Ruby agrees with me. I said it was Tsunoda. You didn't believe me.
Okay. GR63.
Yeah,
Jesus
George Russell.
Christ. No one can. You can't even say his name now. He who must not be named because he's so vile. Anyway,
Russell, I think Russell's amazing talent, and I do support Russell, but he is my least favourite of the three Brits. I will say that.
There we go. He should be your favourite, but he isn't. Ironically,
he's my least favourite.
Alonso. I mean, the Alpines. Fuck me. I mean, they're like Alonso's just brilliant. I think everyone's saying that. Everyone's like, he's my favorite person to not like, but he generally is doing so well this year. No idea. Like, fair play on him. He stopped late, didn't he?
Yeah, and then 8 minutes to go, and then made up 30
on,
seconds in 8 minutes.
I suppose in theory, he had nothing else to lose, and he wasn't. Oh yeah, he was behind the Latifi train, so God knows. And I wonder if Alonso passed Russell and went, "That was great."
He just drove around him. It wasn't even a fight.
Yeah.
And then he was absolutely neck and neck with Sebastian Vettel on the line.
I mean, literally, there is 11 hundredths of a second. Was it 11 thousandths of a second?
Yeah, 11 thousandths. It was 0.011. It was that's like the length of a front wing. So I need to go back and look at the onboard and see what it was like.
I mean, it literally, it was tire to tire, literally. Yeah. I mean, fair play on Vettel. I thought Vettel lost it to Alonso, but actually he hadn't.
No. And Vettel was backwards at turn one, and then him and Latifi made the call for tyres. Really great. Held on to it well. But he didn't really do any overtakes. He just got there and stayed there. So fair play to him. Managed to hold off Alonso. I think Alonso will be a bit gutted he didn't pass him because I know he just lost a little bit under traction, but it looked like he could have driven around him and then didn't quite get him to the line. But no, good. He loves the track. It's a great finish for him. It's put Aston Martin in a very strong position, catching Alfa Romeo. If they can somehow rescue 6th place out of this championship, that's a solid effort for Aston Martin.
Fair play on them. I'm gutted that Vettel's leaving now. He went from one of my most hated to one of my most admired. And I still think he's a good driver. Your second favourite driver, British driver, sorry.
Is that my go or was it your go?
Your go. Am I on Hamilton?
I just did Vettel.
I've spoken so long about Vettel, I didn't even realise that was mine.
No, it's you.
Hamilton. I don't know what happened. He didn't really do anything, did he?
No.
Apart from stayed exactly where he was.
He passed the stationary signs.
Yeah. I think he pretty much stayed where he was and did nothing. Yeah. I don't really remember. I'm sure the Hamilton fans will tell me. But,
it was that long battle with Ocon, trying to overtake him constantly. He tried everything he could, but that Mercedes had too much downforce and just didn't have enough straight line speed. And it was the worst car on the grid to be stuck behind because it's got so much straight line speed, that Alpine. Any other car, I reckon he would have got past in 5 or 6 laps, but it's just that car is the wrong car to be stuck behind on a track where it's difficult to overtake anyway.
Yeah. And you've got Ocon.
Yeah, well, we just pretty much covered his race. He started 5th, went up to 4th when Sainz pranged it, and then held off Hamilton. Brilliant defence. It's he defended like a lion this time.
Yeah, so. or as to take Laura's words out of there, and to take Russell's words out of him, he's defending like the race of his life.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. It was a solid performance from him, and he needs it as well.
Ocon does that though.
The weekend that Gasly is announced, or the week before Gasly is announced as his teammate, he needs that performance because Gasly. This is really going to test Gasly now, and Ocon. It's going to define their careers. Whoever wins out of those two is going to be seen as the lead driver in that team. So next year is a massively important year. It's important that he needs to assert himself in that team because they've both got similar length contracts.
But also, wasn't there something about the races and points of their careers are almost identical? I saw something.
I mean, they've had very similar careers.
Their careers that I like. They're literally a point difference. There's a point.
They've both got
the wins.
They both won a race. They both won a race they didn't deserve to win.
Yeah, they've both done the same amount of laps. It's a really, the statistics are really close. So although Gasly's having a crap time at the back shouting at people, Yeah, he actually, was.
Yeah, it's gonna be a feisty one to watch next year, definitely.
Yeah.
Got then
Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc.
Leclerc. I mean, every time I listen to anyone, I can't decide whether it's Leclerc or Leclerc. Could someone define that, please? Um, uh, I mean, he fecked it. Him and Ferrari did Ferrari things and fecked it.
Well,
You
Ferrari
know,
did nothing wrong.
shockingly, but I think he just completely fecked it on that penultimate corner. It was almost like the pressure got to him. He wasn't like the thing is that track was not perfect for overtaking.
No.
So why did he try and late brake just to try and late brake Perez? I just feel there's a bit like they were quite tight, but I don't quite understand as to whether I don't know. Whether he was trying to late brake him to get around that corner because he knew the Red Bull had faster speed on the straight. I don't quite know.
It was a really this is start of the season we were talking about Leclerc and his push against Verstappen and how good he is and everything like that. And I always maintain that he's good for quite a few mistakes per year. He's not the finished article, and some people were laughing at me when I said that, but I reiterate it now. I still say he is not the finished article. And I mean, he's still only won 5 races in his career.
Yeah.
That's less than 1 a season, and there's only 1 year he's not been in, or 2 years he's not been in a car that's capable of winning races.
Yeah.
I think is it his fourth? 2018 was his first year.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, his pole to win ratio is horrific. It's really, really bad. Like the amount of pole positions versus the amount.
Wasn't there? There's that was that meme, whatever you call them, going around today, with Max Verstappen and Ferrari. And they've both got the same amount of wins.
Max has won more races than Ferrari have. But also, that's a damning statistic because that's races since 2010. Max Verstappen came into the Formula One World Championship in 2016.
Wow.
2015, sorry, was his first year. 2016 was his first year for Red Bull.
Wow.
So,
mad.
Yeah, so that's just crazy. But also, as well, Verstappen has won more races from Leclerc's pole than Leclerc has.
Oh dear, Leclerc. Perez, great drive. Great drive.
No, you're just saying that to trigger me, aren't you? Right. So
Did you get driver of the day? Who did get driver of the day?
I don't know. I didn't see who got driver of the day. But my in-laws were down and they were waiting to have breakfast, so I had to stop watching. So everyone talking about how good Sergio Perez did. So Charles Leclerc munched up his tyres, made a mistake on a track that you can't overtake on.
Oh, Vettel got it officially. There we go.
Oh, cool. Okay. And Sergio Perez, in by far the best car in those conditions on that track, has finished 27 seconds behind Max Verstappen. Behind Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
In a 40-minute race.
Yeah.
That works out at 0.8 of a second slower per lap than Max Verstappen. Now, I know he spent sort of 6 or 7 laps behind Charles Leclerc, and also Charles Leclerc's 5-second penalty has affected that as well. But Leclerc, he couldn't get past Leclerc. Now, I know it's a hard track to overtake, but the pace that car had, he should have got past him sooner than he did. He wasn't trying anything. He was just trying the same thing every time. Leclerc had the measure of him. It was only because he made a stupid mistake that Perez got past. This is the kind of form that got Gasly and Albon sacked from Red Bull. And it's only because he does things that help Verstappen.
Yeah.
That's the only reason he's in that car. Because the Red Bull is fundamentally quicker than it was when Albon and Gasly was in it. So as a result, now, when he's having crap performances, he's got cars around him that Verstappen is fighting. Whereas when Gasly was doing it, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And he would have lapped him. In a full lap race, he potentially would have lapped him.
Yeah.
Because what was it? We got just over half this. Okay, he might not have lapped him. Looking at that, so 27 seconds in just under half distance. So yeah, he probably wouldn't have lapped him, but he would have been a long, long way ahead.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as a great performance from Sergio Perez. I see it as the bare minimum of what he should be doing at best. So well done. You were better than a shit Leclerc on the day.
Only because of a penalty. Yeah. I like. He fecked it himself, Leclerc. Anyway, someone who didn't feck it, and weirdly, I'm quite shocked he isn't driver of the day. It's Max Verstappen. You know, great drive, usual Max Verstappen showcase. Absolutely, this year deservedly winner of the series. And unfortunately, we now have to have his car with number 1 written on it for another year because he's an egomaniac.
To be like, I'm as a person, Max Verstappen. I've warmed to him as a person. I don't like him as a driver sometimes because of some of the stuff that I think he pushes the envelope too far. But to be fair to him, he hasn't had to do that this year, and he's been incredibly tolerable all year. He's not really annoyed me all year. But as a person, considering the upbringing he's had, I think he is incredibly
that terrible upbringing he's had.
He is incredibly well adjusted for somebody who has basically been bred to be a Formula One driver. He's like a thoroughbred Formula One driver, the first of his kind, and for that kind, to be as well adjusted as he is, and as aware of himself as he is as well. Like, it's his father-in-law that's doing faux pas in the press, not him.
Yeah,
he is very aware of himself and his influence and what he says and everything like that. You don't. It was
quite funny though when you saw him on the chair at the end. They had that stupid chair.
He was embarrassed. Wasn't he
was embarrassed by it. And fair play on him. He wasn't lauding it. He just sat there and went, "This is fucking weird."
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that comes down to what actually, the way he won the championship. And I'd be disappointed if Johnny Herbert told me, "Oh, by the way, you're world champion." That would be It's like when you're in the bath and you just try and let out a fart and.
Where the fuck is this going?
No, I'm going to stop there.
Where's that going?
It's an ultimate disappointment and it ruins your day.
I'm
going to move on.
I don't even know. I don't know how that's even related. What the fuck?
Well, you could say that the FIA. You could say the FIA are a bit of a wet fart right now.
What's going on between me and Ruby? We're agreeing a lot today.
I know. What's that about?
Because I also agree with that coming third in that car is criminally that not clear of third in the championship. That's in that car is criminal, and also the fact that everyone will, because they have rose tinted glasses on, and I'm probably going to do it as myself. We'll at least class him A in our driver ratings that we will all put together for Grid Talk, like we always do. And I'll obviously throw my usual spanner in the works. I hope people realise this for Russell as well, but also Perez. His season hasn't been that great. He has had some great races, such as last week's, but that one race doesn't make a season.
But even so, last race he did his absolute level best to try and throw it away, and probably shouldn't have won the race based on what he should have probably got as a penalty.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It is madness. Okay. So what do we want to talk about?
So, I'll just run through the standings now. So Max Verstappen is champion on 366 points.
Well, for the moment, depending if they put penalty points.
For now, he is champion. You've got Sergio Perez.
We'll have it all again in 2 weeks' time.
Perez has now moved ahead of Leclerc, which is not down to Perez being great. It's down to Leclerc
and
throwing away so
and
much.
Ferrari.
He's just a point behind. Russell now good 45 points back in fourth place. I think that fight for second is between Perez and Leclerc now. Sainz just 5 points back from Russell. Mercedes, they don't look like they're developing anymore. I think they're fully focused on next year. I think it's just going to be a bit of a slow dying death to the season for them now, unless they can pull something out in there's 2 tracks we're going to now that are quite good for Mercedes normally, so you never know. I say 2 tracks, I mean USA and Brazil. Mexico is normally horrendous for Mercedes. And then we've got Lewis Hamilton on 180 points, kind of getting closer. He's closed in quite a bit on Sainz there, closed in a bit on Russell. His race performances and qualifying is obviously outdoing Russell, but the overall points Russell's still there because his highs have been higher than Hamilton's. Norris, bit of an outlier, 101 points there in 7th place, well back. And then Esteban Ocon is not going anywhere in 8th place. Fernando Alonso closing on Ocon, but I think he's going to run out of races. He's in 9th place on 65, and Valtteri Bottas rounding out the top 10 with 46 points. If we look at the bottom, Nick Latifi has finally made it to 20th in a 20-driver season. getting 2 points, moves him ahead of Nick De Vries on countback because he actually has other races besides one race to count back to. So unless Nick De Vries gets another cameo appearance, Latifi will finish 20th. Unless he gets more points. He is just 2 points behind Albon now. And Joe with 6 points there in 18th. So that's the standings there. And the constructors, Red Bull, still haven't won it, but it's only a matter of time. They're 150 points odd ahead of Ferrari now. Mercedes, solid third, not going anywhere. Alpine, well, at 13 points ahead of McLaren now. And then it's just really a fight with Alfa Romeo and Aston for 6th place. And also Haas and AlphaTauri are still tied on 34 points each. So
well, that was boring. I always find that bit so boring.
I can tell.
I don't know. I think I literally just went on Facebook because I got bored.
I could tell.
Sorry. Is that like
What the fuck?
Yeah, I just put it in the soundboard.
Rubes, 2 things. Yes, you're going to cut. What? You keep threatening to come on this podcast, and I still haven't seen you on it. So don't keep threatening. Let's make that happen. And the W Series has been cancelled for the final 3 races.
I did not see this.
What the fuck?
Okay, well, I'm going to have to do some live.
We're going to do
Googling
some
on this.
Googling. I'm Googling.
Right, I'll go on the W Series website. You go onto Google.
I'm on Google.
this is
Restaurants
news to
cancelled.
me.
Focus on securing investment.
It sounds like they're out of money.
Well, they fucking made them go all the way to the world's furthest places for no apparent reason. Like, why did they put the W Series in?
So they've cancelled the last 3 races. So they just announced Chadwick as champion.
Cancelled due to funding of an investor falling through. Oh, we had. So in Ireland, this is completely unrelated to this. In Ireland, there's a film. There was filming not a million miles from where I am down here. On the first day of shoot, they announced that they had no investment and they had to cancel the whole shoot. They built a massive house on a cliff top, internal, external, like 200 grand's worth of house they built, wooden blind things, and they didn't have any money. And everyone's chasing. They've now got the 3rd production company is trying to make it, but that's really weird. Jesus.
It's awkward that the W Series website, right at the top of the schedule, it says, from Miami to Mexico, W Series is set for the season. 10-stage F1 support races, 8 Grand Prix weekends over 3 continents.
I think the thing is, they've sent them on all the away trips. Like, of all the series to put onto an away trip, W Series wasn't the one. And they were, where were they last week? They were in Singapore last week, weren't they? They weren't in Japan. But then Austin and Mexico. It's just like, there are ways that costs a lot of money. Like, that's just Liberty being like, I don't know whether they're trying to, I don't know whether their idea was trying to promote it, but I just.
This is very strange because like W Series was getting a lot of hate from other series because all of the investors were flooding to W Series and they were quite sour about it and salty because they're saying, why are they backing a series that's effectively elitist and like excluding and also pushing women together? And I completely
although we don't agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the points. I mean, there's actually some very influential women in motorsport that are dead against W Series. People like Pippa Mann and Sophia Flörsch, I think, is dead against W Series as well. They're saying that women should do their talking by fighting on the same track as men. I mean, I disagree because I think that giving them a platform to show who can. Sorry,
if that's the same way, then we shouldn't have ladies football or.
Well, no, I see the point in that there's like, absolutely no reason why. There's no reason why women can't exist on the same playing field as men in motorsport. There's no physical reason why women cannot perform at the same level as men.
There's no physical reason why they can't play football the same as men.
Well, no, yeah, but just like generally, I'm generalizing here.
Go on.
We're
on thin ground here. So
no,
nice.
I am being incredibly enlightened because I have a wife who is very very enlightened in these matters. But with regards to motorsport,
some might even say feminist. Is that the word?
I wouldn't go as far as saying she's feminist. Bossy,
I would say I'm not.
Scary.
Yeah.
But no, it's the thing with WC. I think it's a great showcase, and especially if they're in front of the teams on the same tracks as as Formula One teams, and you've got a genuine basis for comparison. And we're seeing now Jamie Chadwick's going off and testing in Indy Lights, which is great. So she could potentially end up on the IndyCar scene. There's a few of the W Series graduates who are having F3 tests. I do think that it's still going to be. We're still a long way off a female Formula One driver. I hope. I mean, Chadwick's the only one that's really got any realistic hope of getting there in the next few years. Abby Pulling looks like she might have a chance, but she just needs the funding and needs the opportunities. And we've got to give these women the opportunities to showcase their skill. And you are going to have some positive discrimination initially to try and get the numbers up, to get the involvement. Because otherwise you're not going to have the young girls saying, I want to be in motorsport, because they're not going to see anyone there. It's the same. It's exactly the same thing with Lewis Hamilton and trying to get more black people in Formula One and into motorsport, because they don't see anyone to
or more ethnic
follow.
Stuff. Yeah.
And so it's the same as that. And so I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with W Series in that sense. But yeah, they've been getting a lot of sponsorship, and they're now struggling for
and some
funding,
weird big names like Jenna Racing. Do you know what I mean? Like celebrity, or managers and things. And there's some big names in there as well, like of sponsors and things. I just find it really strange. I mean, I'm just reading through the article here. We could have kept it on for a couple of weeks, but had to make a pragmatic call today. Going forward, I'm extremely confident W Series will be here next year.
That sounds
we believed
really bad.
until this weekend there was a possibility of us to Austin, and we've had to call it because there are deadlines and payments of things which need to be done. I don't get it. I don't get like how not racing is going to fund them. I'm guessing they're not paying it, but it just feels a bit strange.
To end the season now means if they're going to lose money at every race they go to, then the company will be insolvent. Whereas if they end it now,
W Series. So what happens to all the drivers? Not drivers, all the teams. Are they going to take a hit? I don't know how that works.
No. Well, the way it works in W Series is that every driver, no driver brings budget. Yeah. That's why financially it's quite difficult for them in that sense. It's it's difficult to say. I really worry for W Series based on this. Genuinely, I think this doesn't sound good. This really, I'm reacting live to this because we've
only just heard it. So. Thanks, Ruby, for.
So thank you, Ruby. Appreciate that.
Yeah, when did that
I can't believe she agrees with you again.
I know, it's weird. That happened at 7:45 today. So that's breaking news. Or it's breaking to us at least. Yeah. I think we've also. Do you know what? It's quite interesting. They've announced this while everything's going on with the Italy.
Yeah.
Breaking Look over here. Look over there. It's definitely, ignore us over here. We're not doing anything. Don't worry. We haven't cancelled everything. Oh, look at what everyone doing over there. Look.
Yeah. FIA. Oh, by the way, we're not racing, but FIA.
Yeah. And they're also governed by the FIA as well. The irony. And this, I know the other irony. This is because they haven't got enough money, and the other one's because Red Bull's got too much. Look, it is what it is.
They need to cut down on their catering department in W Series, obviously.
I mean, as Jamie Chadwick is crowned champion, she wasn't crowned. I mean, so
they're saying that because she's 50 points ahead, she has now been crowned champion. Yeah, but she was going to win.
She's going to win it anyway. So it's not like I just feel like they should have gone to Austin, cancelled the other two, but tried to get to Austin just to finish. And just go. Look,
I think it was.
I'm sorry, lads. Yeah. We're not going to do the next race, but and the FIA and F1 themselves, or any of that, Liberty Media should have all stepped in.
Well, I wouldn't have called all the drivers together from W Series and said, "Sorry, lads." That's one thing I wouldn't have done.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, but then it's like, "Sorry, ladies," and that becomes a thing. Yeah, no, you're opening up me to a very short ball there.
Right, now you're on thin ice.
As I said, just setting me up to fail there.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's bad, and I hope that doesn't go the way it looks like it's going. So, back to the Formula One side of things then. So, should we talk about Pierre Gasly?
Oh, my knob on my hat is really hurting me. I've got to put my headphones either forward or back. Like this knob here. Jesus.
You've got knob issues once again.
I've got knob issues. There we go. Right, let's talk about moaning or moan.
Yeah, so, Gasly, I mean, I was initially, and I said this on the Grid Talk Slack as well when it was all going down, I wasn't blaming Gasly, but I was saying he wasn't blameless. But I've since found
He's
out
not blameless. Okay, go on. Let's have these facts.
Right.
Facts of Tom.
My issue at the time was, why was he going so fast behind the safety car?
Because the Delta allowed him, was it?
Well, basically, yeah, he wasn't in breach of the Delta, and he was actually slower than ideally he should have been. He was still going faster than everyone else because that's what you have to do.
But that does not stop common sense.
So he wasn't actually speeding behind the safety car. His penalty was for then, after he went past the red flag incident, the red flag was flown, and then he was obviously incredibly angry about the situation and driving back angry. So yeah, he deserved the penalty.
So he got a penalty for driving angry.
Yeah, because basically after he'd driven past the red flag situation, he was then obviously got scared by what happened, and then he drove back to the pits too aggressively and too angrily. But what I was saying about the situation, I said, well, look, that's only dangerous because he's driving too fast. And that's not the case at all, because he wasn't driving too fast. It was, and I didn't realise quite how close he was to it at the time, and just how far on the track it was. So I am going to correct myself and say,
Tom, have you lost your mind?
Why?
Have you actually lost your mind? Right. Let's go back to the very beginning of this. So there was a crash. Okay,
Yeah.
Starters. Okay. All right. I'm not saying that Gasly is completely to blame here. The FIA are. Let's take this segment by segment, okay?
Yeah.
And put the blame as to where it comes from.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a crash. So the FIA, okay, decide to send out a safety car, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Gasly gets caught up in the whatever it is on the front of his car.
That's before the safety car, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. So decides to pit under the safety car.
Before the safety car.
Before the safety car. Because he hasn't got a choice, really. Let's be honest. He has to pit at that point. It's not like he's taking a quick pit stop. Okay, I get that. But this is where I have my issue. He then ends up, the safety car comes out as he's going in to the pits. Yeah, roughly,
much,
give or take, give or take 10 seconds. The safety car has gone and speeding off, as safety car does. Catches Max, we're in the fucking lineup. Yes. And Max, and he drives around and shows the line where he drives around. This is where I have the issue. The FIA, this is where I have an issue with safety cars, and I don't quite understand how a safety car works, because the safety car is in theory showing the line they need to take. Yes. Which was actually going off track at that point. But the safety car doesn't slow down so everyone is in line. It doesn't do that, because people are taking cheeky pit stops, so they've got to play catch up, which and the current regulations are they're allowed to, in the Delta, allowed to catch up with him. But the Delta just is an overall track speed, isn't it? So it's like an average speed camera.
No.
So
okay,
maybe I'm wrong here.
Okay, so the way it works is that the safety car comes out, and we've got the virtual safety car now. So if you need to neutralise the race, just to quickly move something off the track so that no one is overtaking, then the virtual safety car is perfect. If there is something that needs clearing and a vehicle needs to be on track to remove it, you call the safety car out. The safety car comes out, picks up the leader. Everyone bunches up behind it to create a space where everyone is in the same place going slowly.
But it doesn't work.
Let me finish. So they bunch everyone up so that everyone is in the same place on track, and that gives them enough time to get the vehicle on, get it on track, and get it out of the way before the cars come back around. Or if it does come back around, the safety car can then slow right down to a walking pace and guide the cars through.
Which doesn't work in the first 2 laps after an instant.
It does, because people are close together. But when you've got
it doesn't. Not when you go to the pits.
When somebody's at the back like Pierre Gasly, what the safety car should do, what the safety car was doing, was waiting for Gasly to catch up, because the regulation states you must catch up to the back of the safety car as quickly as possible whilst maintaining the Delta. Now, the Delta is a constantly changing earliest arrival point on a mini sector. So you have like these 300-meter mini sectors, where it's like you cannot get to this point before this time. So that will be positive or negative. So if you're going too fast, it will tell you, and then you have to slow down to drop below it. So it's not an average speed. It's not like 50-mile-an-hour average speed limit.
Yeah.
It's a earliest arrival time at this point. So you just have to arrive at that point. And he was about 9 seconds. I'm sure there's a comment there. So yeah. Nice. Let me finish. Yeah. So
sorry, I have to explain that. Ruby's just put up Tom doing his best. Karen, let me finish, Chandok.
Well, it's true. So based on that, so Gasly was not achieving the fastest possible delta time to get back. He was going slower than that.
So why is the delta in the instant area and not a lot slower?
He has an earliest arrival time across the lap to then catch up to the back of the train. Where the
it
issue,
should be like
where
I
the
don't
issue
get
has
that.
gone.
Like this is the
Let me finish, Carl.
Oh my God.
Where it's gone wrong.
I mean, you've got the same size thighs as him. Anyway, carry on.
Where it's gone wrong is that the FIA the clerk of the course. So whoever's in charge, so whether that be Niles Vitic, Eduardo Freitas, or whoever
it is on the state,
who knows. So they deployed that vehicle to drive onto the track before Gasly had caught up to the train. That was where the problem was. They should have waited until everyone was together.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there is no reason. There was no health and safety in the sense of no one was involved in an incident.
Yeah,
where the driver was where the driver was in immediate danger, and they didn't need to clear that car instantly.
After that point, after he's gone past the red flag,
also,
that's when he
why is there
the
no fucking flashing lights on any of these tractors?
That's bad.
The Formula One thing has fucking each Formula One car has massive flashing lights in the back whenever there's rain. Every fucking the safety car is like a lighting beacon that's lighting up the world, and so it's the thing. But like 2 piddly brake lights that you can't even fucking see. I mean, my Merc's got more than that.
Yeah.
Like it's just sorry, I'm not saying my issue is I think Gasly is in the right to moan. I get that. But he also knew where that incident was, so he should have fucking slowed down because he was still speeding past the car. And he didn't know what was going on as to whether Sainz or Albon. He probably didn't even know Albon was even stopped out at that point. Do you know what I mean? So there is no reason for him to be catching up with the safety car and the speed delta in that area, in my mind. He did speed past him. Whether it was in the delta or not, he still sped past him and then angrily drove beyond that. The issue, and nothing is saying that
he deserves the penalty because of the way he drove back to the pits. I'm not debating that.
Okay, so
but it's the bit before that's the problem.
Yeah, and I think the bit before, what I don't understand, and this is not Gasly's fault, this is the FIA or whoever. Why do they not just put on VSC in that area? That means you have to really reduce into wherever the instant area is.
It is effectively.
But it's a lap. It's a whole series. They don't do that. They do the whole lap. The whole track is under.
They do it in mini sectors. It's exactly the same as
the mini sectors. Other mini sectors reduced to individual areas
under safety car. Well, under
what I'm
both.
saying. No, what I'm saying is a VSC, in my mind, is a whole track yellow card, yellow track almost yellow flag track, and they have to go around. Whatever 40% reduced. Whatever their delta is.
It's a 40% reduction.
But why can they not reduce that area within?
I don't know. I understand what you're saying.
I don't know why that isn't happening.
I don't know if they have the ability or the technology to slow down individual sectors like that.
But the deltas are being sent out. The information of deltas
it's pre-programmed. It's not something that they then quickly just.
But then I do wonder as to whether they need to. And I can't imagine it being that hard to send the radio signal to those cars to say, okay, in sector 2.1, that's, to 2.4, that is a VSC of minus 60%.
The problem is the visibility, I guess.
But even in the visibility, surely
on a dry track,
sensibler.
on a dry track in the sunshine, that's not even an issue because you can see it miles
Oh,
off.
no one's denying that. But, even on a wet track, but even on a dry track, even on a dry track, you still see things, but who knows where and we've had it numerous times over the past couple of years where marshals have just run out in front of cars, not thinking. We've seen it. We've all seen it.
But in these conditions, that would be horrendous. But
we've seen it in the dark in Bahrain. When Grosjean, had the big crash.
That's effectively daylight conditions, though, with the amount of lights.
Okay,
there. But I get what you're saying.
They should be able to reduce the section, and I think, but also have fucking common sense. You knew where that crash was. I know you might not be able to see too much, but you must have some memory of where you had a fucking notice board thrown across your bonnet. Advertising board. Have some fucking common sense. Of course, he's not going to know exactly who's out the car doing what or who's where. At that point, there's an incident there. You don't know whether there's a marshal going to cross the road in front of you, and so slow the fuck down. That like the race winning the race. It'd be safer for him to drive through that area slower than it would be for him to race behind it so they can clear the track quicker. And there's some common sense of safety there. And I completely understand where Gasly's coming from. That tractor should never have been on track because there was no risk to a health and safety of an incident happening.
Yeah, they should have just waited. There's no reason why they couldn't have waited 30 seconds to a minute and then they could have sent that thing out there.
Yeah, until they knew that the back of the pack, the back of the pack was all together and all 20 cars or 18 cars, sorry, at that point were together. They've got the technology, let's be honest. They do have the technology because I know that Formula E suddenly drops the power, and the signal goes, so there must be a way of information coming to there that the delta reduces in a certain sector. It just needs to be, it's one of those things that just needs to be thought through.
So the other thing that really we should talk about before we go is the end of the race and the point situation, everything like that, because it's taken me over 24 hours to understand that there wasn't a mistake made.
What's that?
But with regards to the points, there wasn't a mistake, but the rule is just not fit for purpose.
Well,
it's just a joke.
I understand it. So even I think I got it quite quickly, actually. So the 75% rule and the 50% rule is if they do not complete the race.
Yeah.
But the race is completed at the 3-hour mark. So
yeah.
And because they drove over the line at the 3-hour mark, that becomes the full race distance. Because it is timed.
Well, it's the end of the race.
It becomes a timed race.
Yeah.
Up to the point of 3 hours.
Yeah.
So the irony being, if there was an incident 15 minutes before the end of the race, the 3 hours, that would have been the 75 points. Because the race finished, in theory, Max Verstappen crossing the line within the 3 hours, or with maximum 3 hours and 1 minute, that becomes the end of the race. Yes?
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, you are, yeah.
But it was interesting because the commentators hadn't even got a clue because the figures kept turning up, which obviously the FIA, Liberty Media's figures of 25 points if Max wins, and they turned around and went, well, that's wrong. I was like,
yeah, and so I went back. I watched it. I watched the end of the race from F1 TV and from Sky, and they both. In fact, F1 TV got it more wrong than Sky.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I thought F1 TV may have got it right and Sky got it wrong, and it was a Sky issue. But no, it was so. And as well, there's other broadcasters. I heard about a Dutch broadcaster that didn't know as well. Yeah. So it's too convoluted. And I guess the problem is that we've got
irony being F1 TV can't fucking work it out.
I say we in a sense of I'm referring to fans who have been watching Formula One for a certain period of time have got precedents in the past of occasions where races have been stopped and restarted and have been time limited. Not many, because it hasn't happened very often. Generally, if it stops, it doesn't get restarted if you're running short of time. But
then this comes back to the Spa race.
But they
not the
put
previous
this
Spa race.
they put this in to circumvent what happened at Spa happening again, but it doesn't do that. That's the problem. You now have a scenario where you can have a race that runs for 74% distance and then is red flagged. And then that race doesn't restart because they've run out of time, and then they award 75% points.
But you can also have
a race that goes for one lap.
One lap at the beginning, has a crash, waits 3 hours and 59 minutes.
Yeah.
Including the safety car runs.
Does
and
one
on the
lap.
and does 2 laps and has full points.
Yeah, which is just farcical. It's just absolutely ridiculous to be the rule is about as useful as the rule that I don't know if it still exists, but I know it existed about 10 years ago, that all London taxi cabs have to keep a bale of hay in the boot so they can feed the horse.
Yeah.
That's how pointless that rule is.
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just begs belief. I don't understand it. And then the other one as well again, I understand the reasoning behind the rule, but it doesn't seem to make sense to me. Like, the finish of the race, I thought there was going to be an extra lap to the race because I was watching the timings. Max Verstappen crossed the line, then the timer hit 0 a few seconds later, so it makes perfect sense since, in all rules of racing, you finish that lap and then you start, and then the next lap is the last lap.
Yeah, it's always time plus 1, which is the FE rules.
Yes, and that's also the rules in pretty much any form of motorsport you see. I mean, that's not the case in Gran Turismo. I know that, but it is the case.
Oh yeah, proper sport.
And I think the reason that they have that as well is you could sort of potentially have a scenario where a driver is approaching the finish line with seconds to go, and if they're going to wave the checkered flag, they're not going to know if they've crossed the line or not because it's going to be a bit. I mean, it was tight. It was tight on the race on Sunday, but it was obvious that he was there. Yeah. So I can understand it from that point of view. But then apparently the rule is that on a 2-hour race, that's a 2-hour time limit race, then the checkered flag is after that. But on a 3-hour race, the checkered flag is a solid wall. You don't go beyond that 3 hours. You finish that lap. Whether that be 3 hours and 1 second or 3 hours and 2 minutes, that lap that you're on when the flag falls is the last lap. But it was just a bit confusing, really.
I mean,
it didn't need to be.
But the only reason that isn't it, is because of TV rights, that 3-hour thing.
Well, yes and no. Yes, it is kind of. That rule came in at the start of 2021. It's kind of to do with TV rights, but it's. I mean, I think one of the best races we ever had in Formula One. Well, the best races we've ever had in Formula One was the Canadian Grand Prix of 2011. That will always be the longest race of all time because it went on for 4 hours because of a massive long stoppage in the middle because of rain. But then the last 20 laps of that race was some of the best laps racing you'll ever see, and it finished with a brilliant.
Which I also don't get.
Last lap overtake.
And obviously I don't know other international medias, but F1 TV is completely digital. The UK rights which is obviously one of the bigger rights holders, Sky, is a digital channel that doesn't
have their own
channel, which can do whatever the fuck they want.
And also people buy that from Sky, and they buy the world feed from either, well, not from Sky, but from Formula One, and they often you buy the Sky coverage because then they don't have to have their own studios and employ their own staff. Yeah.
So it's all a bit random anyway. So I don't quite get it.
In the world that we're in now, in the streaming world that we're in now, I don't see why we need to kowtow to scheduling.
No.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Not anymore. I don't think there's any, they're still getting advertisement fees around,
It's a global sport.
Like if there was I don't know if Sky do it, I can't remember. But if there is a red flag gap, they just throw an advert break in, do what IndyCar
no, they do float for advert breaks in red flags. They do.
So I don't know. They're not losing revenue. I don't get who's winning out of this. So it's a bit of a strange one. If anyone knows as to why they do it, and also, okay, I get that sometimes there's fading light, but as Otmar kept saying, we should have started the race an hour ago.
Well, yeah, there was no reason. There was no reason to start it that late. That's the thing. The conditions were no different.
But are they starting it that late because the UK audience being the major audience?
I think it is for Europe. It is
all Europe.
Yeah, it is. So to get it at a reasonable time for Europe,
and 6 o'clock in the mornings is near as possible we could get it. But
we used to have them at like 3 and 4 in the morning. So I remember getting in from nights out when I was a teenager and watching the Japanese Grand Prix and watching Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher battle it out while I was still pissed from the night before. So I actually really enjoy the. I mean, I'm a minority. I actually really enjoy the odd hour Grand Prix because it means that I can watch it and still have the rest of the day to myself. And I don't
have no idea what I'm going to do next Sunday. Not a clue.
What time is it next Sunday?
8 p.m.
Or the following Sunday.
8 p.m.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, there's the problem. I drive up to Dublin every Sunday at 8 p.m. So my choices are leave my kids early and watch the Formula One in Dublin. Not going to happen.
No.
Stay in Dublin and arrive and get up and leave stupidly early in Dublin. Not going to happen. Or drive really late and land in Dublin really late. I don't know. Not going to happen. So I have no idea.
So you're driving to Dublin, yeah?
Yeah.
So what's your 4G signal like?
I live in Ireland. That's all I'm going to say.
So bad.
I go through the Midlands, literally from one side of the country to the other. It will not last the whole race.
Can you get BBC Sport on your phone?
No, because we're not. Because I can, but I don't get the signal.
Okay.
I still have a signal issue. I've got more chance of watching now on my phone while driving. Sorry, listening to now on my phone while driving. Not that I watch anything.
Yeah. If you can get BBC Sport, you can listen to it on BBC Sport whilst driving.
I know. Yeah, I can put it on now and not, but I can't get BBC Sport 5 Live. Unfortunately, we don't have any FM radio station. Well, we don't have any BBC FM radio stations.
Yeah, but can you not tune it in on your phone? Because you have the BBC Sport app on your phone. Just play that. That will use less bandwidth because you're only using audio.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I would do. That's what I have done in the past.
There we go. What should I do, lads? What should I do? There's Tom's decision. I know you want to go, but what's the point of wet tires?
Yeah, full wets are just not fit for purpose. They're as good as that tire. That rule about the amount of points you award on a completed race. Yeah, there's no point. And
Ruby does have a point. 5 Live doesn't have Crofty.
Good.
Leave now.
Nichols is better. Nichols is better. Nichols is a better
do you know what? I love do you know what I prefer? His notebooks. I love his notebooks.
That's Ted.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck Crofty.
There we go. Finally, something you don't agree with Ruby on.
Oh, fuck Crofty.
No, I like Ted. I've met Ted. Yeah. He's lovely. He's a proper geek, just like me.
Was that the time you met Pinkham?
Yeah, and Johnny Herbert.
Yeah.
And then I saw Johnny Herbert and Simon Lazenby at the Canadian Grand Prix.
What happened to the F1 show being from a studio?
I don't know. I've not watched it in years.
Do you know what? We're talking about getting rid of the W Series. There was not a single woman on the Sky presenting team.
Oh, was there not?
Natalie Pinkham wasn't there. Jennifer wasn't there. Nicola wasn't. Nicole? Naomi, that's the one. Wasn't there. Danica wasn't there. And yeah, that was it. Those are the only 4, isn't there? None of those were there. Anyway, sorry. Then why are you saying Crofty then? Oh, at least doesn't have Crofty. 5 Live at least doesn't have Crofty. Doesn't have Crofty. Scam reading. Sorry, Ruby.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Back to what the original point was. If you're not going to race in wet conditions, what's the point of extreme wets?
We could have started the race half hour earlier on full wets and then
Rachel Brooks wasn't there. There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry. The live stream's slightly slower than us, so we're playing catch up. Anyway, wets, pointless. Don't have them. Literally don't have them.
Or have better ones and use them.
The problem with, and this is what I was saying, why don't they have a wet package?
Hey.
In the sense of a race that they can throw on mudguards. because the spray's the issue.
I was thinking about this, and I don't know if it's. I guess it's because generally, they could have some kind of body kit you could put down that deflects the water so it stays low. I think there's a huge amount to that, and I'm not sure that in the time there may be something you do in races where you know it's going to be like it's in for the day, we had Spa last year, and
even a wet race, okay. If the race starts wet, which they are going to have to know, 10 minutes beforehand or whatever, or an hour beforehand. If the race is going to start wet at any point, then they should go have this wet package or whatever. Or
I don't know if there's something in there where you could, like, every team has to have mandated mounting points for water deflectors or something. I don't know. It's certainly a point that we could look at. Yeah, I know. I did say hey when he said wet package.
Sorry,
and you didn't laugh.
Sorry. So my mate, one of my security team on this is up for. Sorry, this is completely unrelated. Security Man of the Year. And he's nominated. And I saw this piece of paper today, and he said, and on this piece of paper, it said, I managed the gay pride where I'm their go-to man. And I was like, go to what? Go to what for what? It sounded funny at the time.
Okay, sorry. I zoned out.
I was crying for about 10 minutes, laughing.
I zoned out there, I'm sorry.
That wasn't funny.
I was thinking about your wet package.
Anyway, things we say that we don't mean.
Yeah, that's fine. Cool. So yeah, wet tires pointless.
Pointless. Need to think about that.
Yeah, some kind of wet package to wrap around would be itchy.
Anyway, tumbleweeds on all this because I think we've got
there.
We've lost it.
Yeah,
we've lost it.
I think we should probably end it there. It's getting pretty horrific.
Go out on a high, lads.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I might just cut this last 5 minutes from the audio version and just not bother.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah,
sorry.
Thank you very much for joining us. We're gonna log off now before we do any more damage. Thank you to everyone on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who listens, and we will speak to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.